What is the most fucked up thing you've ever done that no one knows about? I shat in the school's toilet. Theirs was no paper, so I wobbled to the sink to clean up. Nobody came in. I was a lucky guy. I had a moment where I was watching my niece and the neighbor kids one day. They were all out playing, and I was in my room about to blow my brains out because I had enough of everything and just wanted it to end. But for some reason my niece came into my room and asked me what I was doing and why I didn't want to play. I think about her face she made at me and how she just wanted me to be around her. I doubt she remembers this since she was just 2 or 3, but that little girl saved my life and I'm happy to be here today. Thanks bug. Skipped school because of a solar eclipse. I was so afraid that I would accidentally look into the sun and go blind that I pretended to have nausea and told my mum I shouldn't go to school. She believed it, so I could stay at home during the eclipse. Next day my classmates told me that the teacher brought them special glasses so they could watch the eclipse together instead of studying. My mum cleans houses for a living. When I was little and sick from school, I would come with her and play on the rich kids' wood and explore the mansions. I stole many expensive toys and pretended I found them in the backyard on the grass at home. When I was like 9, I had a crush on a boy in my class. Turns out a friend of mine also liked him. He liked her and they announced they were not dating at that age, but mutually acknowledging each other. I was a bit upset and offended, and me and another friend complained to each other about it. She liked him as well. Pretty sure it was a case of if she wants it, I want it, rather than any particular feelings about him as a person. We were literally children. Anyway, as horrible little sociopaths who have not learned empathy do, we figured that, because this particular boy did not like his girlfriend's sister, we could stir up trouble that way. We did, by doing the usual talk in the sister's ear, talk in his, put him in her way, start a fight, girlfriend gets involved on her little sister's behalf. Somehow it all escalates, boy pushes sister, and she falls down some stairs and breaks her arm. Whoops. Girl and boy break up. The whole thing happened over the period of one lunch period. I was in a bathroom in Tokyo. I spent way too much that night on alcohol and was very drunk and was worried I couldn't afford to make it to my next payday. I saw a wallet next to the toilet when I was peeing and took about $200 out of it. I woke up the next morning with the highest amount of guilt I've ever felt in my life. This and a few other events made me realize I had to stop drinking because I just turned into a horrible person when I did. I was writing names for my son's Valentine's Day card exchange envelopes. I got him some that had a riddle on it. His attention span is too short to address some 15 plus cards, so I let him point to which ones go to which kid. We get to this one kid's name, and my son starts telling me how the kid calls him stupid. I choose the whole people will say all kinds of things to you your whole life. It's up to you to decide who to listen to, lecture and then finish up with the cards. This is embarrassing and petty. Nobody probably noticed it, but I ripped the kid's card so he wouldn't be able to read the answer to the riddle. Gave a knife to a kid, maybe 4 to 5, and said get him. He took off after another kid to kill him. Luckily the other kids outran mini murderer. I was about 7. My friends and I were playing with knives. Parents fully aware and not present 90s were great. Probably when me and my friend Ron, in middle school, taught his toddler brother swear words. Then, we'd tell him to go tell mom what he learned. Not the smartest thing on our part. We'd be in the loft listening and we'd hear, "Hey mom, fuck," to middle school boys. This was the funniest thing we'd ever heard. When I was young my older cousins taught me to say motherfucking asshole and that it meant something great. They then proceeded to have me go to my grandma and say it to her. The look on her face as I proudly called her a motherfucking asshole, I knew immediately I was done for. She grabbed my ear and dragged me to the laundry room sink and proceeded to vigorously wash my mouth out with a bar of soap. My cousins though, when my grandma found out they were the culprits, well let's just say, that's a paddlin'. I'm still not sure who got it worse. When I was in college my boyfriend cheated on me with a girl I knew. Looking back, she was very insecure, and I think back quote taking my boyfriend was validation for her and made her feel wanted, although I know now you can't take anyone who doesn't want to be. A lot of her self-esteem came from her interactions with guys. I was devastated and furious with them both. She and my boyfriend started dating after our breakup, but fizzled out quickly. A few months pass, and I get chatting to a casual guy acquaintance who doesn't know about my cheating drama. He asks if I know girl, as he quite likes her, and is thinking about asking her out. I don't really know what came over me, but I tell him she's lovely and really sweet, and I really feel for her as a lot of people can be mean to her. When he asks why, I hesitate and tell him I've said too much, and make a big show about not meaning to let that slip out. After much cajoling and pushing from him, I give in and swear him to secrecy, telling him gently that she is known for having a particular severe case of genital warts which flare up when she's stressed. People know about it and have been cruel to her about it before. The whole time I'm putting on a big act about how terrible it is and how she doesn't deserve it. None of it is true. The guy is sympathetic, but obviously really put off. And he doesn't ask her out. I'm not proud of it. I don't really know where it came from, but it was really fucked up as he was a really nice guy and would have been a great boyfriend. Sorry, Jenny. I was annoyed with one of my co-workers. I wrote an email to the owner of the company, claiming to be a customer, and alleged some abuse on her part. She was fired immediately. Worst part is, I got transferred to another branch in our company. She ended up getting hired there not a week after I moved. Flooded a bathroom with a mega turd. There was a bathroom in every floor in the engineering building. The bottom 2 floors were always full and or out of toilet paper. I really had to go, so I went to the 4th floor, since it was almost always empty. Proceeded to annihilate the toilet. Finished wiping, went to flush, kicked the handle like always, and didn't realize it got jammed. The poop didn't go away. The flush handle was stuck. Water started overflowing. I ran out. The worst part? There was a guy in the stall next to me. I never wore those shoes to school again. No way to ID me. I found a cat in the road at about 2 AM that had presumably been hit by a car. Its back legs didn't work, and I was hanging out, and it was crying like a baby. I did what I thought was the right thing and got a brick and crushed its head. It was so hard to muster the courage to keep pushing that brick down. I was crying as I did it. That was 20 years ago and still think about it on occasion. When I was about 10 to 12, I killed my own dog by bashing its head in with a rock after it got run over by some asshole who just kept driving. Walking home crying, covered in the brains and blood, carrying my only buddy in the world. Fucked me up for years. My husband usually comes home from work while I'm still sleeping. If I wake up to the sound of one of our cats throwing up, I just ignore it and go back to sleep, knowing that I'm dooming him to having to clean it up. When he gets home, he thinks I just sleep through them, but the truth is much worse. When I was 10, my at the time 5-year-old cousin had these 10 disgusting cloths that he needed to hold to sleep. Every night he would count his cloths to make sure all 10 were present and then hug them to sleep. They were so gross. They were originally white, but because he carried at least one of them around everywhere, they were all stained and dirty. He also refused to let anyone touch or wash them ever because they'd smell wrong. He had a favorite cloth which smelled the best to him or something that he would usually pick to carry around. Anyway, the kid was a brat and kept lying to our grandma that I was picking on him because he enjoyed watching her yell at me. So I got mad one day and stole his favorite cloth and hid it. He threw the biggest tantrum and the whole family was out searching for it. No one ever found the cloth. He was in Cub Scouts, who did fundraisers for scout activities. We'd hang out at the entrance of a supermarket with a poster board about the event and a jar, and people would put change and bills in it. We also counted the money and turned it into the troop. We noticed it was like $300+ from a full day of chilling in the shade and hyping up the soapbox derby or whatever. Well, one summer my friend and I decided to put on our uniforms and hang out to fundraise for a camping trip that didn't exist. We hung out for about 4 or 5 hours before we lost our nerve and split. Got about $200. Some old lady also wrote us a check for $50, but it was made out to the scouts and neither of us had the balls to try to cash it. I've killed many thousands of ants, maybe several tens of thousands, but not as an exterminator. I did it as a kid, and I made it personal. When I was a kid, one of the things I'd do when I was bored and forced to play outside was find an anthill and massacre it. I'd cause some sort of disturbance, poke it with a stick etc. And then when the ants all came running out, I'd play God, Old Testament style. Or Godzilla is more like it. Some would stop moving the moment I stepped on them, some would twitch like crazy, others would limp on, and I'd sometimes watch to admire their spirit before finishing them off. If I stomped one 3 times and missed due to uneven ground or the grooves in my shoe, that meant that ant was supposed to live, so I'd let it go. Like Hans Lander saying au revoir before lowering his pistol. It wasn't until I was about 10 that my best friend saw me doing it and told me I'd end up turning into a serial killer if I didn't stop. So if the ants ever rise up and take over, pretty sure I know which human they'd scratch off their hit list first.